And Caitlin Clark breaks a record despite being sabotaged by her head coach, Stephanie.
That statement did not come from an anonymous source or a rival fan base. It came from people who watched the situation unfold in real time. They saw the head coach limit the playing time of the player who had just become the fastest in WNBA history to reach 600 assists. They watched her statistics remain limited even as the team secured a 34-point victory. Now, reports emerging from Las Vegas are creating shockwaves throughout the Indiana Fever organization.
Indiana Fever put belt to ass on Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. Caitlin Clark with a record-breaking night in her return performance.
The Fever had just secured a record-breaking 34-point blowout, and the locker room should have been filled with excitement. Players were expected to be celebrating a dominant road victory over one of the WNBA's top teams. However, reports suggest the atmosphere was anything but festive. According to those claims, Stephanie White pulled players aside and instructed them not to celebrate with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham.
I feel like Stephanie White is sabotaging her stats before this whole minutes.
Clark faced a minutes restriction despite producing efficient numbers, a decision many observers questioned. If the reported locker room directive is confirmed, it would rank among the most controversial coaching decisions in the Indiana Fever's recent history. To understand why, it's important to look at what Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham accomplished on the court before those reports emerged. The Fever delivered a commanding 34-point victory over the Las Vegas Aces at Michelob Ultra Arena. It was not a close contest, but a dominant road performance against a franchise widely regarded as one of the WNBA's standard bearers. The win came against a team led by Aja Wilson, a three-time MVP and Olympic gold medalist who has often been linked to discussions surrounding Caitlin Clark, despite playing only 24 minutes under a restriction that has not been publicly explained in detail by the Fever's medical staff. Clark finished with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists while shooting 5 of 11 from the field. Even with limited playing time, she became the fastest player in WNBA history to record 600 career assists, reaching the milestone in just 72 games.
Even in minutes restrictions, even with injuries, it don't matter. The girl breaks record after record after record after record. The GOAT Caitlin Clark came back and broke this record in her return.
Despite playing under a minutes restriction, Caitlin Clark continued making history against one of the league's toughest opponents on the road. The matchup had been circled on the calendar by Fever fans from the moment the schedule was released. It was expected to be the game that silenced critics and confirmed Clark was healthy, back in form, and ready to lead Indiana. Then Sophie Cunningham took over. She scored 20 points off the bench, shooting 7 of 9 from the field and a remarkable 6 of 7 from three-point range. Her performance gave the Fever another major boost and showcased the strength of Indiana's bench when firing on all cylinders. Combined with Clark's historic milestone, Kelsey Mitchell's 27-point performance, and Aaliyah Boston's dominant showing, the Fever produced one of their most impressive wins of the season. The locker room appeared set for a memorable celebration after such a convincing victory. However, reports later claimed that head coach Stephanie White instructed players not to celebrate with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. If those reports are accurate, the allegation extends beyond a routine coaching decision and raises questions about the atmosphere within the team. According to sources cited in the reports, players were allegedly told either directly or through assistants that the post-game celebration following the 34-point victory over the Las Vegas Aces should not center around Clark and Cunningham. If confirmed, the reported directive would represent a significant development for the Indiana Fever organization. According to the reports, players were allegedly discouraged from sharing the natural celebration that followed the Fever's dominant road victory. Instead of enjoying the moment with the teammates who played the biggest role in the win, they were reportedly steered away from Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. If those claims are accurate, the alleged directive would extend beyond a routine coaching decision. It would represent the reported exclusion of two of the team's most recognizable and influential players during one of the season's biggest victories in any professional locker room. Players notice how coaches handle key moments. Even subtle actions can send a message about whose achievements are being highlighted and whose contributions are being overlooked. According to the reports, several players were uncomfortable with the situation and recognized the difference between a genuine team celebration and one shaped by coaching instructions. The reports also connect the incident to Clark's ongoing minutes restriction. Despite appearing healthy and helping Indiana dominate in a 34-point victory, she was limited to 24 minutes. Critics have questioned the basketball reasoning behind that decision, especially considering her impact whenever she was on the court. Supporters of this view argue that the reported locker room incident is not an isolated event, but part of a broader pattern involving coaching decisions surrounding Caitlin Clark. Before her injury, she averaged 21.5 points and 8 assists per game, establishing herself as one of the league's most productive guards. Since returning, her reduced playing time has naturally affected her statistics, fueling continued debate over the coaching approach. Supporters of this view argue that the minutes restriction is difficult to explain based solely on basketball reasons. Caitlin Clark played only 24 minutes in a 34-point victory despite returning from injury, appearing healthy, and becoming the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 600 career assists. The decision has fueled ongoing debate among fans and analysts. The reported locker room incident has further intensified that discussion. Some believe the minutes restriction and the alleged post-game directive reflect a broader pattern rather than isolated events. According to those reports, the decisions involving Clark and Sophie Cunningham have raised questions about the relationship between the coaching staff and two of the team's most prominent players. Team chemistry is one of the most important elements of success in professional sports. When players celebrate victories together, trust and unity naturally grow. However, if teammates believe certain players are being treated differently, it can create unnecessary tension inside the locker room and affect the team's overall atmosphere. The Fever's dominant victory featured outstanding performances across the roster. Aaliyah Boston controlled the paint, Kelsey Mitchell scored 27 points, Sophie Cunningham caught fire from three-point range, and Caitlin Clark reached another historic milestone despite limited playing time. Many believe those performances should have strengthened the team's unity rather than become the center of controversy. According to the reports, the alleged directive created divisions during what should have been a celebration shared by the entire team. Whether those claims are accurate remains a matter of public discussion, but they have intensified scrutiny of the Indiana Fever's internal dynamics. The reported locker room incident has also sparked questions about the team's future. Sophie Cunningham will become a free agent at the end of the season, and speculation has already linked her to teams that could pursue her services. If the reported events are accurate, experiences like these could influence how she evaluates her options during the offseason. Caitlin Clark is also likely to draw attention after another historic achievement. She became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 600 assists while helping Indiana dominate one of the league's top teams. Naturally, observers have begun debating what the franchise can do to ensure its core players remain committed to its long-term future. Another reason this victory attracted so much attention is the opponent. The Fever defeated the Las Vegas Aces, led by three-time MVP A'ja Wilson. Over the past 2 seasons, Wilson has publicly discussed Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA and the attention surrounding her, making this matchup one of the league's most closely watched games. Indiana's convincing win over Las Vegas added another chapter to that rivalry. Clark returned from injury, the Fever earned a dominant road victory, and several players delivered standout performances. Because of those circumstances, the reported locker room story quickly became a major talking point, with fans and analysts continuing to debate its significance and what it could mean for the team's future. The victory over the Las Vegas Aces carried added significance because of the attention surrounding the matchup. Caitlin Clark returned from injury and helped lead the Fever to a dominant 34-point win, while Aaliyah Boston delivered an outstanding performance against A'ja Wilson. Wilson finished 9 of 23 from the field, and Indiana controlled the game from start to finish. Many believe such a performance deserved a full team celebration. However, reports alleging that players were discouraged from celebrating with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham have shifted much of the post-game discussion away from the result itself. If those reports are accurate, critics argue that the decision went beyond normal coaching strategy and raised concerns about the team's internal culture. Instead of focusing on one of the Fever's biggest victories of the season, attention turned to questions about player relationships and the atmosphere inside the organization. The reports have also increased pressure on the Indiana Fever's front office. Along with the ongoing debate over Clark's minutes restriction and speculation surrounding Sophie Cunningham's future, the alleged locker room incident has fueled questions about whether the current coaching approach can support the team's long-term championship. Ambition's supporters believe the organization now faces an important decision regarding its leadership and direction. With the franchise experiencing unprecedented growth in popularity and commercial success, many feel the Fever must ensure their internal culture matches the talent and expectations surrounding one of the WNBA's most promising rosters. The Indiana Fever's rapid rise has brought record-breaking attention, increased merchandise sales, and growing expectations. Because of that, many believe the organization has a responsibility to resolve any internal issues before they become larger problems. Although Caitlin Clark remains under contract, every player's long-term future is shaped by their experiences with a team. If the reported locker room incident is confirmed, it could influence how Clark and other key players view the franchise moving forward. At the same time, Sophie Cunningham is set to enter free agency, adding another layer of uncertainty to the team's future. Speculation has also linked other organizations, including the Los Angeles Sparks, to players connected with Clark. Those reports have fueled discussions about whether Indiana can maintain its current core if internal concerns continue to grow. The Fever now find themselves at an important moment. They have a record-breaking star, one of the league's most talented young rosters, and a dominant victory over a championship contender. However, the reported locker room controversy has shifted attention away from that success and toward questions about leadership and team culture. Whether the organization publicly addresses these reports remains to be seen. Until then, debate will continue over the coaching staff, the front office, and the franchise's long-term direction as fans closely follow every new development.